Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and I'm a terminally online historian who consumes probably way too much news and has too many opinions about it. And so, what I like to do on Sundays is wrap up what I think the most important stories of the week were, and I give you my thoughts about them. And this is for the week that is ending on September 21st of 2025. And so, let's get into our first story. And this is actually a very serious story and a very concerning one I want to hit up very first, being someone who does believe in freedom of the press and freedom of speech, and that is that Jimmy Kimmel was forced off the air this past week. It was very last minute, occurred Wednesday in the evening, based on the timing, it was right after Kimmel and his team had recorded the Wednesday night show, which did not air. So this decision kind of was prompted by some comments from FCC Chair Brendan Carr about networks needing to do things the easy way or a hard way when coming to dissent against Charlie about Charlie Kirk's murder, or even criticizing the Trump administration. And Donald Trump has been trying to get Kimmel the be quiet for years. While he got Colbert first, Trump does have a very particular disdain for Kimmel, especially after the it was either 2017 or 2018 airing of Kimmel's show, in which he had the adult film star Stormy Daniels on, and she's a woman who received the hush money payments through Michael Cohen, and what was one of many scandals involving Donald Trump. And so, yeah. So basically, FCC chair made those comments about dissent, whether it's to the president or disparaging comments about the late Charlie Kirk. And so Disney actually did not make the initial decision. It was actually started by one of their affiliate. So the networks and television here in America do not own the local channels. They just provide national level broadcasting and national news services. Almost all of the local markets and local television channels, if they're not owned independently, they're owned by smaller networks of affiliate ownership. One of them is Nexstar, and they were actually the ones that started this because they decided that they were going to preempt Kimmel based on the encouragement from the FCC chair, and they just made that decision because they have matters coming up before the FCC right now, because they're trying to acquire another network of markets called Tenga, and their acquisition, this is requiring the SEC to change the rules, because they would have way more than what is currently allowed should they purchase Tenga. So as soon as Nexstar made the decision to preempt Kimmel, Sinclair, which is another large network of local television affiliates, and they do have a conservative bent to their local news, which is why I don't watch the news on the CBS affiliate here, as it is a Sinclair here in Missouri, as it is owned by Sinclair. So they also followed suit in preempting Kimmel, which meant before Kimmel even had a chance to air, most markets that ABC is in was having Kimmel preempted, which kind of forced Disney executives. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to put them on we're going to suspend the show indefinitely. And Disney also is trying to acquire some more media properties. So they have they need to go up get approval from the SEC. But so basically, this is all just local and national networks bowing to the will of the FCC chair just because they have business coming up and they're trying to get favorable decisions. Now, this pattern of following suggestions from a government entity to forcibly censor a private individual or program is patently illegal and unconstitutional and extremely scary for us who believe in the protections of the First Amendment, with especially in regards to speech and the press. And it's not just me saying that and just quoting words from First Amendment. As recently as last year, in 2024, in National Rifle Association versus Volo, there was a unanimous Supreme Court decision which said that what the FCC chair basically did was unconstitutional in that case. So it's not just my opinion and opinion of those of us who are in favor of free speech. It's also been confirmed by the Supreme Court and this current Supreme Court. And also, the folks at Disney, as well as Nexstar and Sinclair, have opened themselves up for some potential legal liability if they can't find a good solution. Because as of right now, Kimmel is in negotiations with Disney to try and figure out some way to get back on the air, and more importantly for Kimmel, knowing the kind of person he is, he's really concerned about making sure his staff continue to get their paychecks. And fortunately, Disney is still paying them at this time. But yeah, if these negotiations fall through and nothing continues and the contract's basically voided, unless there's some sort of negotiated settlement, Disney, Nexstar, and Sinclair can be sued by Jimmy Kimmel and his staff for breach of contract. Breach of contract cases are easy wins, because 99.9% of the times the courts side with whoever contract was breached by, and whoever commits the breach pretty much loses every time. Kimmel and the staff also have a very strong case, especially backed up by NRA versus Volo, as well as the First Amendment, to sue the FCC and federal government directly for free speech violations. Again, this thanks to NRA versus Volo, it's as well as the easy to read context of the First Amendment. This is a very winnable case. I also noticed that MAGA is unfortunately starting to use Charlie Kirk's murder as their Reichstag fire, which occurred in 1933, to jumpstart their efforts to stifle free speech and force their vision of America on us. Hitler and the Nazi Party set the Reichstag on fire in 1933, and that's what started all those roundup of so-called undesirables and gays and Jews, and basically jump-started the Holocaust in 1933. And so that's why I'm very concerned about this and wanted to lead with this story, even though the next story is actually a bit more got a bit more entertaining, and we got some interesting developments, and that is regarding the Jeffrey Epstein case. So this week, FBI Director Kash Patel had to testify before the Senate and Congress this week. In the Senate, it was a little more chill, and they kind of were like, okay, what's going on? And so he testified one way, but the fireworks really occurred in the House Oversight Committee, and it was a disaster. Kash Patel basically made himself out to be an idiot. He was asked why he hasn't been releasing the full files, and he came up with the notion that the courts are preventing him from releasing the Epstein files that the Department of Justice and FBI have, and that's his excuse. Now, as was correctly pointed out by several representatives, the courts only ruled on sealed grand jury testimony. They did not rule on anything that the FBI or Department of Justice has. So Patel is just making shit up. He also has stated that he has never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files, which I kind of find laughable, because I'm sure he's been in meetings with Trump and they've discussed what's in the Epstein files at length. And Republican Representative Thomas Massey, who is on the right, has been spearheading a lot of the efforts to get the Epstein Files released, and he is a patriot for that, and definitely an ally of the surviving victims. He stated that he knows of at least 20 names of suspected Epstein clients. They have not yet been released, as they are still trying to force the Epstein Files out of FBI and DOJ's hands through legal means. And like I said, overall, and it's not just me, it's a lot of folks. Wednesday was not a good day for FBI Director Patel with his performance in front of the House Oversight Committee. It was definitely a disaster. There are rumors going around that his time as FBI Director will be coming to end sooner than later. And as of this morning, it looks like Pam Bondi might also be in the crosshairs and be getting fired all because of the Epstein situation. Now, a good development happened on Friday in that the Treasury Department actually is cooperating with the House Oversight Committee, and they have turned over all the financial documents that they have there at Treasury to the Oversight Committee. And this is a good thing because the Oversight Committee's staffers and their investigators, they'll be able to track down the money, see where money was coming from, where money is going to, and you can use that to figure out who was an Epstein client. And it can also potentially set up wire fraud and money laundering charges for some folks, as the statute of limitations has not ran out on those crimes. Next, our dear leader, President Trump, did go visit the United Kingdom for a state dinner this past week. The second state visit to the United Kingdom for President Trump, and the first time any U.S. president has had a second state dinner. Back in the day when it was more common in Europe and there's more monarchs, state dinners, if you're a monarch, you got multiple state dinners because that's what monarchy does. But U.S. presidents getting state dinners has really been something that's only started up in the last 100 or so years, just because U.S. presidents really didn't travel outside the country much until Woodrow Wilson went to Paris in 1919 for the negotiations for the Treaty of Versailles. And it wasn't all bad. There was a good business deal, which I think was potentially mutually beneficial, and as the United States has agreed to invest $200 billion into the United Kingdom's economy. And the United Kingdom, even though we still hate on them every year in July for about 5 days and blow stuff up, they are still a good ally of ours, and we still do a lot of business with us. We still consume all their music. Who knows how much money they got just from the Beatles and into the royal government's treasury through taxes on those Beatles. But so that part was good. Melania's dress, not so much. But anywho, moving on, staying in Europe, we're going to go over to Ukraine, and this can be a quick update this week. Russia's still attacking civilians and civilian infrastructure, and Ukraine is actually just solely focused on hitting not just military targets, but hitting refineries. There are two more that were hit this week, one in Saratov region and one in Samara region. I don't have numbers on how much capacity was lost with the Samara refinery, but the Saratov refinery, that's about 2.5% of Russian oil producing capacity, and that has now been lost. And the reason why it seems like I'm harping so much on this being a good thing is with the Russian oil infrastructure being directly targeted, it's the current oil refinery network in Russia it's modern, but that's because it was put in and installed in original engineers, full-time engineers on site were trained in the late 90s and early 2000s, and they were established by and constructed by Western oil companies such as Chevron, Shell, British Petroleum, all the big Western names. Now, the reason why this is important to keep in mind is because due to this war, one of the sanctions and embargoes on Russia is they cannot get replacement parts from Western oil refinery manufacturers and suppliers. They have to rely on cheaper Chinese knockoff parts, and those knockoff parts are not as efficient or as good quality. It's kind of similar to when you're fixing a car. If you use a cheap knockoff part, it's not your vehicle. Yeah, you get the job done, but you're going to have to. The part just isn't as good as the OEM or original engine manufacturer part or the OEM recommended parts, and you're just going to have to do the same repair just much sooner, unlike getting an original part from the manufacturer or one that the manufacturer recommends as a replacement part. So eventually, look, and even then, China's going to just end up running out of parts if they keep blowing up. If Ukraine keeps blowing up these oil refineries, so there's also that factor, and so that's still something to keep an eye on. I do think that once Russia falls below probably 65-70% capacity and are only producing that little oil, then I think the Russian population will start protesting and start forcing Putin's to do something about ending the Ukraine war. And finally, this is also very concerning, is that apparently the FBI is wants to create a watch list for trans individuals. I do have to credit Ken Klippenstein for breaking a story on his Substack Friday, and also have to thank Matt Drudge at the Drudge Report for seeing that it was important enough to put on his homepage. And for those of you who do not know, Matt Drudge is a gay individual, and I am not outing him. He's been out for decades, so being that he is in the queer community, he does have sympathy for us who identify as trans. This has long been part of Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, trying to round up transgender people or stifle our speech or stifle what we can do. I do think this is also being spurred on because of the reaction to primarily Charlie Kirk's murder, but also the recent school shooting up in Minneapolis. Now, this whole thing is not based in any sound sociological, criminal justice, or psychological academic research, so it's dangerous on that level. And also, it is a clear violation of us transgendered individuals' First Amendment rights, free speech, free association, free expression, and our due process rights, which are enshrined in the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments, as well as our 14th Amendment right to be treated equally under the law. Should this policy go into effect, I do expect the Justice Department and the FBI to get the lawsuits handed to them from GLAAD and also the ACLU. And let's just hope that this is just a rumor and it does not come to a head. Anyway, that's what I got for this week. I hope you liked it, found it interesting. If you did, please like us, subscribe if you have not, comment below. As always, please be kind in the comments, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.